Hello, everyone. I am Alexis Nelson, and I am the founder of BEST, which is Be Exceptional Support Together. And what we endeavor to do is to create awareness for exceptional communities in all communities. This show is called Guiding Lights, and I have two very special guests on with me today who will be sharing their journey. They play a dual role, and this is what is so exciting. We get to hear both ends of what they do, and I am going to allow them to introduce themselves shortly. But for those who are just tuning in, again, make sure that you like and you share, be a guiding light, and make sure that if you have any questions, please make sure you leave them in the comment section so we can address them. So, without further ado, I would like for them to introduce themselves and we will go into this evening's questions.
I guess
I
I'll go
guess I'll go
first.
first.
My
My
name
name
is
is
Elena
Elena
Luna.
Luna.
I'm
I'm
sorry, I'm
sorry,
getting
I'm
some
getting some
feedback.
feedback.
Here we
There
go.
we go.
Elena Luna
Elena Luna
Magallanes.
Magallanes.
I
I
am
am
a
a
mom of
mom of
four,
four,
one
one
of
of
which
which
is
is
on
on the
the
on the
autism
autism
spectrum.
spectrum.
So,
So
I have a
I have a
husband, and
husband,
my
and my
parents are
parents
still
still
working out.
hanging out.
But I also work within my community. I'm the Northwest Region Associate Manager for Direct Care, and I sit on a couple local different community boards.
Hi there. I'll go next. My name is Jessica Witherspoon. I am a parent of multiple children and with and without disabilities. I work in the field of serving individuals with disabilities, and I have been for quite some time. I like Elena, do a great deal of volunteer work, sit on boards, all revolving around the disability field. So I'm excited to be here.
And I'm excited too. So, I have a few questions for the both of you. And you all can jump in as you are led to, but we have many different people watching, and when it comes to resources, sometimes there are barriers that come up and people want to know. And then for those who are in exceptional communities and are doing this dual role, how does it affect them? How can they navigate? But my first question, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, if you can share any insights or lessons learned from your professional experiences that have directly impacted your parenting journey. Because I know I have a dual role as well, and I work in the community, I work with the community. But when it came to my own child, it seemed like it was different. It was a little different. And so, and I worked in the field for years. Not specifically with exceptional communities as it relates to how what my daughter um, is her ability is. However, I have worked in the community, and it just was different when it came to my own child. And so, if you all can share, Elena, you can go, or Jessica,
Sure,
whichever
sure.
first, your insights and some things that you've learned.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
the
think the
biggest
biggest
takeaway
takeaway
that I've
that
really
I've
been
really been
able
able
to
to
kind of
kind of
embrace is
embrace is
really
really
the
the
importance
importance
of a
of a
functional
functional
team
team
dynamic.
dynamic,
And
and
really
really
coming
coming
into
into
situations
situations
in which
in
it's
which it's
very
very
easy to
easy to
have
have
mama bear
mama bear
code come
both
in
men,
and
and
that's my
that's my
child,
child.
slow your roll, for lack of a better word, right? And so I think being that I work within this field now, it really is important to have everyone working collaboratively on the team because it really, um, I myself wouldn't be able to do it. My child, my adult son, wouldn't be able to do it on his own. So there isn't really this one entity or one service that is really going to be a make it or break it situation for him. It really is going to require professionals within their field to come together and work collaboratively. So that functional team dynamic is super important. Jessica, I don't know. What do you think?
Absolutely. I had to unmute myself. Sorry. But yes, I love that, Elena, because that is a good point. I think oftentimes we're so used to always wearing our parent hat, right? And so we should have all the answers, right? But in reality, we don't have all the answers. We are sometimes taking things a day at a time or hour by hour, right? Let's keep it real. We don't have all the answers. Our children, whether they have a disability or not, they did not come with a manual, right? They don't come with a brochure on this is, how things go. No, that's not the reality of how the world operates. And so I think having a collaborative team that's really invested in the well-being of the child or the individual with disability is phenomenal. That's how it should be. And so I think as a parent, sometimes we have to give ourselves grace that we don't know all the answers, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a good perspective to kind of, have forward. The other thing that I've done as far as, how to be parents and the lessons is, let me think, which would be one that sticks out to me. I would say that what works for another individual with my child's same diagnosis, right, will not necessarily work for my child. So in the beginning, you would always hear the words of wisdom like, your child should do this, or, oh yeah, they're going to walk and talk at this age. No, that does not apply just because we share the same diagnoses. So I think that professional experience that I've had in working with individuals of all ranges and all abilities has really affected me personally, and to look at each individual as an individual rather than as a diagnosis or, looking at them from a general perspective. I look at each individual as just an individual.
That is so good that you said that. I remember when I first was told, or I saw something different about my daughter. And of course, I'm a social worker. I should know. Okay. And I did not know. and at a point, I kind of beat myself up about that. I'm like, my goodness, I have went to school for this. This is what I do. But it was different. And I had to learn that comparison kills. So stop doing it, because that was one thing that, well, this person is doing this and my daughter is similar, they should be, and that was not so. And when you brought that up, that really reminded me of that, because, and even learning to learn my daughter, no matter what statistics say, no matter what other experiences others may have had, that's not her experience. And so I had to learn not to just settle for what people told me all the time, because I was told, well, she doesn't understand, or she wouldn't walk, or she wouldn't be potty trained, or, it was like doom and gloom. I remember sitting at that IEP meeting, like, is there anything my daughter can do? I mean, just can I get a lifeline somewhere? Because it was so like overwhelming at that point. So really learning that every child is different. Disability does not mean inability. And, you don't know unless you try. I assumed a lot of things that my daughter could not do, which I learned really quickly that I was part of that enabling process. So I had to get in a position where I said, wait a minute. I remember one day I was frustrated because her room was not clean. And I said, that's it. I am not clean. I'm not doing it anymore. And I told her to clean up your room right now. And she cleaned up her room and put those shoes in a perfect order. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, they said she couldn't understand. And they said, and so it's really important that you get in tune, or your child. And when you do, then you can better provide the things that they need. And so thank you for that. Now I do have another question. I have a couple of questions for you all. And how do you navigate like potential conflicts or challenges that may arise when you're wearing these dual roles? You're at your professional organization and you're advocating for your child. Have you ever came up against something where it conflicted?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, it, I want to really say that I think it really kind of boils down to when I start to feel like the mama bear is coming up, at whether it's a team meeting or with a provider. That's when I usually kind of get that moment to just kind of take a deep breath and just be like, okay, what is actually the conflict? And there have been times where I just ask if we can pause a meeting, um, because that level-headedness is really what's needed when we are in the process of advocating for our child, right, or our loved one. And I think that that's really important, that we're able to tap into that self-awareness component. Um, we've had also situations in which the agency that I work for was providing direct care services for my son as well. And so we had to, figure out that a lot of times it's not the best situation to be in. But unfortunately, because of the limited resources that we have in our community, when you see a diamond in the rough, you just want to tackle it and be like, okay, we can use that service, right? And I think, I don't know, Jessica, you could go ahead and kind of jump in, but a lot of times we find ourselves creating these situations or these services or these programs for our loved ones to be a part of. And then that ends up bringing others along in our journey as well.
absolutely. One thing I've learned is that, like Elena, she shared some words of encouragement with me one time, and it just really, really left a deep impact on me. And it's something that I still carry with me, on a regular basis. And what Elena just said, it hits our area really, really hard. So our resources are very, very limited. When it comes to children like ours, individuals like, with disabilities. And so instead of, not everyone has a village, right? You always hear, oh, it takes a village, right? Not everyone has one. And so I remember Elena early on in my journey sharing with me, you know what, I didn't have a village either, but what I've learned is to create mine. Her adult child is, much older than mine. And so as I've been wondering, like, where do you find support, because our area is very limited. And she said, girl, I make them, somehow we're learning to just pave the way. So not only can our child benefit, but others right alongside. And so I think that's beautiful. A beautiful thing to point out, because it can be very discouraging as a parent when we're searching like we are staying up all night, sometimes multiple nights a week, just looking for answers, reaching out to doctors who should have answers, right, oftentimes, but don't. And so that can be very discouraging. And so to create a way really, really will not only help your child, but others. And so I appreciate those words of encouragement that Elena shared with me way back then, and it just continues to leave an impact on me. So I like that, and that those are recommendations or pointers that I would give to other parents. Is just don't get discouraged. Just create a way, find a way. We can get through this together, and you're not alone.
And that is so good to hear, because I often say, who is your tribe? Who is your tribe? Because there are some instances, I remember starting out, I was very protective. So I'm still protective. However, so protective where I wouldn't let people in. I didn't want anyone to mistreat her. I didn't want anyone to harm her. I was very limited to who I would allow in my circle. And so even as far as when it came to respite, I'm still working on that. It's I wasn't so open to say, hey, come on in. Because I am Mama Bear, as you were saying earlier, and I really, but I learned that that's not always the best route. You have to be able to trust somebody. We have to allow people to come in and help, because even sitting here talking with other parents, that is encouragement. That gives you the strength that, you know what, I'm not here by myself. There are other people who are experienced things that may not be exactly as what I'm going through, but they understand the journey.
Right.
And that's comforting. And learning to be able to pull resources from one another can also help, because you need a tribe. There were so many things that I have learned from many different people, just people that's coming on the show. I'm learning so much. I'm like taking notes, like, wait a minute, hold on, because your daughter may be a toddler, or his daughter may be a teenager, or you may have a young adult. And so, all those stages, we need help. We need to learn. So, what do you mean about you have to get legal rights to be guardian once they turn 18? That's my child. What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense to me. So if you have someone that has been through that, that can walk you through things like that, it's so much better, because you have a lot already. This journey is not a cakewalk. That's why I call us superheroes, because you are definitely a superhero when you're on this journey, because you have to be. You're the protector, you're the resource finder, you're saving the community, you're saving your, it's so many different roles that we play. And to hear you talk about having that community, having that tribe, is it's really good. And for those who are out there listening, make sure that you have a tribe, have a community.
Yeah.
And you did mention about resources and the barriers. It could be frustrating, when you don't know where to start, or who to go to, or how to go, or what to even say. There were services that I didn't even know about that existed, and you have voc rehab, you have all these different services, but depending on what community you may be in, the resources may not be as available. And that's what I want to talk about too. What barriers have you seen within your community when it comes to, getting those resources that are needed, not just getting them, but making them available to our communities?
Well, that's a
Well, that's
very
a very
loaded
loaded
question,
question,
because I
because I
wish I
wish
could
I
just,
could
at
just,
the
off
top
the
of my
top of my
head,
head,
say
say
one or
one or
two
two
little
little
things that
things
we
that
can
we can
change,
change,
and that
and that
would
would
everything,
everything,
right?
right?
The
The
reality, though,
reality,
is
though,
very
is very
different.
different.
It's a
It's a
very
very
layered
layered
issue,
issue.
because
Because
depending on
depending
what
on what
part of
part
our
of our
community you're
community you're
from,
from,
and by
and by
community, I
community,
don't
I
just
don't just
mean like
mean like
city
city
or
or
county,
county,
but what
what
state you're
you're
from.
from.
Right?
Some
Some of the
of the
advantages
advantages
that our
that our
state
state
has
has
are
are
resources
resources
like the
like the
family
family
support
support
waiver. We're the
waiver, we're the
community
community
integration
integration
waiver.
waiver.
You also
You also
mentioned
mentioned
the rehab.
rehab.
All
All
must
must
have
have
connections, right? For our loved ones with um, so many different abilities, right? And so being able to tap into those resources is great, but there's an 18 to 24-month waiting list, right? Once you get on there. And once you've been approved for services or targeted for services. And then you get a beautiful pick list of all these different providers, and you're like, wow, there's so many different agencies that can provide so much help and support. And then each one has another waiting list for you to jump on. And it could be anywhere from 6 months to a year to 2 years, because the turnaround in that field can be very, very challenging. So if you're looking at it from a state level, something as simple as the funding for those two waivers, they don't have their dedicated line in the budget at the state level. So if we've been targeted for services and we've been eligible to receive the $19,000 waiver, right? And we have a list of providers, but we're on waiting lists and the year has come and gone and we don't use those funds get reallocated back into the general fund at the state level, as opposed to coming back into the waiver dollars. So another family who's been impacted, who may be further up on those waiting lists, could tackle those services, right? So it's just, and then you're looking at salary for direct care providers. So it's a very layered question. But I can honestly say that the difference between the first or the largest county in our state, which is Marion County, and Lake County, since we are the second largest in the state, definitely would have to do with the actual type of services that the waivers are able to cover in this area. For example, like career services may be pretty active in central Indiana at Marion County, where career services and a couple different agencies that are well known that service both counties may not have those services yet.
That's a good point. I think another barrier that I see in my everyday, workings with families is them not knowing or being told about services, whether that's waiver, whether that's VR, they are not told. So when when their loved one with the disability is aging out of school or entering adulthood, they are just applying. And as Elena said, there's wait lists on top of wait lists. So now you have got to just sit it out and wait. So I think the biggest barrier I've seen that can be corrected is them just being told about the services out there. So whether that's at the pediatrician's office, whether that's at delivery, whether that's at preschool, at an IEP evaluation, 504 evaluation, there are just so many opportunities to educate families on these services that just aren't being hit. And so I know Elena and I have dedicated quite a great deal of time in outreach and educating families, educating providers about services, because the earlier they can get into it, then the earlier they can receive it. And so it's a win-win in the end.
Yeah. I would also even include language, the diversity in language, because depending on the ability to understand the information that's being presented, you now have to try to find resources to be able to provide those services in that language, right? So yeah, the list, we can talk forever.
But you know what? That's a good thing, because I don't think it's enough talking sometimes.
Right.
And when you mentioned that, I love how you say it's not just one way to get this information out. We had a concern. We have these disability fairs, and we do these, and the attendance is low. Okay, so we get all the people out there. You have Beach, you have Voc Rehab, you have all these different providers out there, but no people. And so we can't stop it. Well, they're not showing up. They're just not coming. What do? We have to take lemons and make lemonade and find another way. And as you were saying, early intervention, IEP meetings, at the doctor's office, at all these different opportunities you listed. I think that's really good, because you can't just do it one way, because the people are not getting the services. And when you brought up the language barrier, that needs to be talked about more as well. We have people from different communities, different backgrounds, different languages. If we can't even reach the ones that do speak the language, then how are we going to reach the masses? What are we going to do? What is the solutions? And I know we have micro and macro ways where we can address it. And I know a lot, we need to really be at that macro level, because the policies and the different things at that level that we need to address. But on the micro level, what other solutions are there? How can we continue to be aggressive in getting the word out there? These are where the resources are, and educating the providers. I understand that, whatever your field is, whatever your practice is, but even if you went to the dentist, it would be really nice for your dentist to say, hey, did you ever think about this?
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about that? Or resource packets left at the dentist.
Yeah.
Places that we go every day, places in the community that we frequent, whatever way it needs to get out there, then being innovative and creative in how we get the information out there. And I know it may not be the normal way, what people may think through the disability fairs, but if that's not working, and I'm not saying it doesn't work at all, however, if the amount of people that are going without services is not decreasing, then I think it's time to kind of look at that. And I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
there's
there's
a
a
couple
couple
different
different ways
ways
to
to
kind of be um, at the
at the
table
table
to be
to
able
be
to
able to
brainstorm
brainstorm
and come up
and
with
come
those
up with those
solutions.
solutions.
I
I
partnered
partnered
with
with
Purdue
Purdue
University in a
University in a
program,
program,
very
very
grassroots
grassroots
called I
called
Hope.
I Hope.
Oh, I'm a part of
And
that.
we, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
And
so we
so
put
we put
together a
together a
resource fair,
resource
just
fair,
like you
just like
said,
you said,
you know, what I mean, a disability resource fair. And
it
it
was
was unique in the
unique in the
sense
sense
that we
that we
had
had
needs
needs
there,
there.
we
We
had
had
voc
voc
rehab,
rehab.
we
We
had
had
all the
all the
powerhouses
powerhouses
there
there
Mhm.
helping
helping
fill out
fill out
applications
applications
for
for
services.
services.
We had
We had
ABA
ABA
providers that were there
there
to kind of
kind of
help.
help
If
if
someone were to
someone were
come
to
in
come in
with
with
someone that
someone
needed a
that needed
little
a little
extra
extra
support,
support,
ABA
ABA
therapists
therapist
would
could
be
be
there
there
and
and
be those
be those
extra
extra
hands
hands
while
while
the
the
caregiver
caregiver
applied for
applied for
services
services
or
or
spoke to
spoke to a
professional.
professional.
Beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing.
And we
And
had
we
like
had
10
like 10
people show
people
up.
show up.
So I
So I
think
think
it's
it's
also
also
us as
us
a
as a
community,
community,
not
not just
providing those
providing those
resources,
resources,
but
but
also
also
working on
working
the
on the
trust
trust
that
that
really
really
has been
has been
broken
broken
within
within
our
our
special needs
special needs
community
community
in
in
functioning as a
functioning as a
team.
team.
Right.
Right.
So
So
we, and I
and
include
I include
myself in
myself
it,
in it,
where I'm
where I'm
like,
like,
okay,
okay,
I'm a
I'm a
skeptical.
skeptical.
I fill out
I
this
fill out this
application.
application,
It's
and
just
it's
going
just
to be
gonna be
sit
sit
and wait
and wait
anyway.
anyway.
What
What direct
help am I
help
going to
am
be
I
able
going
to
to be
give
able to
you
give
now?
now?
Right. And
Right. And
so
so
there's
Mhm.
there's
there's
definitely
definitely
some
some
cultural
cultural
community biases
biases
that we
that
also
we
kind of
also
have
kind
to
of have to
navigate.
navigate.
Yes. And I when you said that, I thought about gatekeepers.
Yes.
Sometimes if I can't get into your neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
then you need to find the person that's in that neighborhood that can get to this population.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we always, do that. But you're right. We do. It's not like we open the door for everyone either.
Right.
Right.
And because we don't, the trust
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge
Mm-hmm.
barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And I
think
think
that
that
regardless
regardless
of
of
where
where
we're at in our
in our
journey,
journey,
there
there
really
really
is
is
a big
a big
thing.
thing.
Even
Even
like
like
just
just
Jessica,
Jessica,
she
she
does
does
have
have
younger
younger
children
children
than I
than
do.
I do.
And I know
And I
when
know
we
when we
talk
talk
on a
on a
professional
professional
or
or
even on a personal level,
level,
um, we do
we
work
do
our
work our
schedule
schedule
around
around
our
our
family
family
and the
and the
needs
needs
of our
of our
family,
family.
right? And
Right. And
so
so
it's
it's
beautiful that
beautiful
we
that
have a
we have a
position that
position
we're
that
able
we're
to
able to
kind of
kind of
work
work
at in.
in.
But
But
I don't know
I
about
don't know
Jessica,
about
but I
Jessica,
had
but
to
I had to
create
create
my
my
position to
position
be
to
able
be
to
able
do
to do
that
that.
because the
Because the
regular
regular
9 to
9 to
5
5
just wasn't
just wasn't
cutting it.
cutting it.
Yeah, that's good. And did you have something to say? I didn't want to interrupt you.
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. So when we're at the table and you're talking about creating your own space. Now, a lot of frustrations. I think back to when everything was shut down and we all had to be in our own space, and how that really affected the exceptional community. There were domestic violence going up. There was a lot of frustration, people overwhelmed, didn't know what to do. I'm here all day and I have no support in person to say, and dealing with ourselves really dealing with that on a day. If I went through my life during a day, most people would probably be like, you know, that's interesting because my day doesn't look like everyone's day. I have an exceptional child, so therefore I can't do some of the things that everybody else can do. So when I have to navigate through that and also navigate through getting resources, and then on top of it trying to understand and the whole wait list, it can be quite challenging. But again, on a good note, when you build that tribe and you talk to other people, like, I didn't know they had this resource. It really helps you. It helps. And I know it's not going to take overnight for some of these um, systematic barriers to overturn, but allowing people to know that there is hope. There's hope. There's still an opportunity for us to spread the word about different resources. And we've been on here talking about different things, and I did not even ask you about your individual exceptional child. I really want you to talk about it because people out there, again, sometimes feel like you just don't understand. You are sitting all nice, you got your nice job, you could not have any challenges whatsoever, and you've been doing this for so long, so you got all your ducks in a row, and you have it together, your whole everything is together. So I want you to just talk about your personal journey with your child or adult or family member, so people out there can see and hear, like, no, this is my story.
I had to chuckle at that. Like, I really wanted to LOL because the way you phrase that is something I do hear often. And I'm like, no way, So yes, while it may look like I have it together, in reality, I'm just taking things a day at a time. And so I have learned right before the pandemic, actually, to just give myself grace. It's okay to not have it together. It's okay to be not okay. So when the pandemic was declared and we became, at home learner, it was quite challenging. So I have 3 children. I have a child with ADHD, and she also has anxiety. And so she is served through a 504 for school. And then I have a son who has multiple disabilities. So he has a rare medically complex condition that has required multiple surgeries and more. In addition to that, he does have a diagnosis of autism. He has ADHD, and he also has Down syndrome. And so he is served through an IEP at school. And like I said, I have 3 children, and so both with and without disabilities. So while it may look like I have it together, I don't, and that's okay. I'll be all right. And so my journey is to be able to help other parents and let them know that it's okay not to have it all together. We're still in this together, and we're going to be all right, And so I will walk alongside you, and we will both not have it together, but we're going to be together on the journey. And so the way I like to describe it when I talk to families is that before, you and I encountered one another, you were on this journey, this roller coaster journey, but you were blindfolded. So you didn't know if you were going left, right, up, or down. No clue, right? But as we walk alongside each other and I'm helping you, or, you're getting other pointers on how to navigate this loopy journey, you are learning to remove your blindfold. And while we're still on the loopy roller coaster, you now know which direction you're going and what your options are. And so life is wild. Wearing these shoes is not easy. But it will be okay. We will get through this. It's going to be all right.
I love that. I love that. I think the reality is that we service a lot of the same community within the same community. And so I always hear, oh my gosh, you just know so much. And I was like, yes, thank you. But there's so much more I don't know. And the reality is that every situation we come into, although they may share the similar diagnosis, the reality is that it doesn't have to be handled the exact same way. And so there is no cookie cutter way for raising a loved one with special needs or not. Like I wish my neurotypical kids came with a manual, but I think that embracing the fact that we are in it together really makes it okay. My oldest son is 25 and he's on the spectrum. I have a daughter who's younger, 1 year younger, so she's 24. And she recently finished the university and is a civil engineer in a little town, actually in Marion County. And then I have two high schoolers. And so um, a roller coaster ride is a good analogy for our life. We go ups, downs, and sometimes we flip around, but we're all good. We're all good. The beauty of being able to really kind of embrace my son's special needs really kind of came when we realized that it wasn't just him that was unique, right? And so we were like, okay, we all have something that makes us unique, right? And so being able to embrace that all of us have that uniqueness, that not everybody has the same thing. And so if I've got to put an extra sunscreen on because I got freckles, that's okay. It doesn't make me more, it doesn't make me less. It just means I have to do a little something extra or a little different to be able to kind of get through the same sunny day that you've got. So we kind of really just make it work. We've gone from both a private school to public school education. We've transitioned between um, several different school systems within themselves. And so finding adulthood and what adulting looks like for my 24-year-old versus my 25-year-old, it's still very not typical, but that's okay because who wants to live a boring life, right? I'd go crazy. I'd go crazy.
Well, I understand what both of you said, and I love the part. It's okay not to be okay. Sometimes, as you're going through this journey, you just it's like a roller coaster. I don't know how else to explain it, but by the grace of God, we really do navigate and we find what we need for our kids. And schooling, that's a whole nother topic. I will have to be on here for a whole hour or so or more. And I really appreciate you taking the time just to share your stories so people can hear. And you do not look like you have adult children, by the way. I'm like, what? Are you
Why,
serious?
thank you. It's because he keeps us on our toes.
Okay, because yes, I'm like, really? Okay, so, but it's really good to be amongst people who are on the journey and not just on the journey, but advocate. We need advocacy. We need that. We need people who continue to be on this journey and continue to find resources and to continue to advocate for exceptional families, individuals, communities, because the more we're aware, the more people will be served and we can get the resources out there. It's not a dead end. We can do better. And with people like you guiding, being a guiding light, that's what will happen. So I really thank you again for sharing, and I will probably reach out to you again. I would love
Always.
to. And thank you again. Excuse the technical difficulties earlier, but I truly do appreciate you coming on and sharing your journey. And thank you so much. And for all those out there watching, again, thank you for joining us. You are on Guiding Lights. We have met with Jessica and Elena, and they have shared so many good things with us, not just resources, but how to encourage you along the way. Remember, be a guiding light, and share. And just remember, there's hope. And you don't have to do this alone. There's people along this journey with you that can guide you and lead you to where you need to go. And continue to have hope. Never forget that. There's always people out there that can help you and give you resources. And thank you two ladies again. I really appreciate it. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much for
having us.
having us.
Thank you.